So let's talk about game theory just a little bit. What makes a good game is that it's not only just enjoyable to play, but there is a reason why we play it. There's a story behind it, something that we can get into. I have a couple of rules in general that I think are really important for when you're making a game that really makes it a game. Rule number one, it has to be winnable. If a game is winnable, that means that there is an objective that the player has. And that can kind of be in two different ways. You can either have an objective that they're going towards, such as trying to get to the castle at the end of the maze, or it could be an anti-objective. Don't lose. An example of this might be Flappy Bird. You keep going forever, and you're trying to keep your bird flapping in between the pipes. And all your entire objective is just to keep the bird from losing. So that is a don't lose style objective for a game. A win style objective might be like Mario. Get through the entire game so that you can rescue the princess at the end of the map. Any game that is not winnable is not really a game, it's simply an exercise in frustration. So don't make an exercise in frustration, make a game. Number two, it should have a story. There should be some reason compelling the user or the player to be able to move forward in this game. In my game thus far, we've been kind of making this post-apocalyptic land, and we're adding cars into it to make it so that this guy is running away from something. So my story for me at this point would be to write why this character is running so far away in this deserted wasteland. And you can add a title screen or something to your game to be able to give the user a little hint about this. Having a story to your game doesn't just make it so that your user has kind of the general idea of why they're playing and what their objective is. It also helps you make a cohesive, consistent game experience. And that brings us to our third rule. Make the game consistent. If a game has a bunch of levels that jump from one thing to another with no real reason behind it, it becomes very confusing for the player. This is why you have, even in Mario, where you have one player that's bouncing between a bunch of different types of levels. Like sometimes he's up in a ship and he's battling these gigantic turtle guys. Other times he's underneath the water, but it's always Mario. And he always has kind of the same rules to him. And all of his bad guys are all kind of the same. He's always moving towards the princess at the castle at the end of the level. So as long as you have some cohesion tying everything together, the player won't feel lost. They'll feel comfortable and they'll kind of know why they're going through that game and what there is that they are trying to achieve. So your homework for this lesson is to write out a story. Come up with a concept for your game and why the player is going through that game and what their ultimate goal is. And that objective should inform all of the decisions going forward and how your levels play out and what the overarching feel of your game is. So write down a story, come up with some ideas about what you wish your level to look like, and then I'll see you in the next lesson.